Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Resident Evil. In the last part we got back here to the caves and oh god, snakes, why? Yeah, they try to throw those guys at you here. Now, mind you, they're not that big of a threat because unless you screw up your inventory, you're not going back there. Anyway, we got another boulder here and another crank section. And weirdly enough, I think this crank section might take longer than the first one because you actually have to use the crank 3 times. And you're required to do that. You're actually not required to do the boulder segment, you're just required to do this, because, the next little key we need is in a little hidden hallway beyond this. You know, Jill, you could make that turn faster. No? Yeah, okay. So here's a fun fact. This is one of the few times where I actually have 2 episodes in a row recorded in terms of footage. Usually, I do these episode per episode, all setup-wise and such. So, pretty much right after this, I'm going right into part 7 and finishing that off. No, part 8. Which part is this? I forget. Ah, more boulders. My mind is halfway not with me right now, sorry about that. Either way, we get a map of the underground now, which is pretty useless because we've explored about every room, actually. Anyway, over here we get another Mo disc. Number 2, I believe. Yeah, number 2. Also, I think this is the last time we have to hear this god-awful track. I'll say it again and again. I prefer this soundtrack to the director's cut soundtrack, but the song they replaced this with is, I think, much better. Anyway, the problem here is that we have to use the crank twice to push this statue away from the wall it's next to, so we can actually put it to use. And how I put it to use? Push on the slightly different colored and, I think, texture mapped floor piece thing. After that, you open up a little thing which has another Doom book. And since we did the thing a couple parts ago, you can probably tell what we have to do with this. Check it, open it, get a medal. I forget if I mentioned this already, but the remake really used the check option to a much, not option, the check command for a much better, it used it much better, there we go. Because, you have to use it for a couple puzzles, actually. And with this elevator, we are actually now done with the caves. They extended the cave section a good amount, if I recall correctly, in the remake, with the little subplot with Lisa Trevor. Trevor, not Trevor. And now we're actually back in the garden. And I think you could actually find that this welded door's other edge at some point. Probably not, based off the way the map looks. But I would like to believe... Actually, no, wait. I think technically you can. I'll have to keep that in mind for next part. Either way, just ignore me for right now. I'm thinking ahead a bit. Either way, next thing we have to do is put the medals into their respective sides. And for doing that, well, something happens. That FMV always looks like it's in the middle of the day to me. Which, mind you, we've been in this mansion for God knows how long, so I wouldn't be surprised if we were approaching dawn, but still. Also, how about that really weirdly hidden entrance to a secret area thing? Yeah, the villains of the series weren't really good with having decently hidden places. Well, these are decently hidden, just they're stupidly hidden. And welcome to the final area of the game, the lab of our villains. Who I think they actually named before now, when you're playing as Chris. I forget if I mentioned who it is yet, but if I haven't, I'll just keep myself quiet. Either way, that's my inventory setup for this area. We got a lot of... We actually have no more hunters. We have an annoying replacement for them eventually, but yeah, the main enemy in this area is actually going back to main zombies. God, that felt so stupid when I did it. You think one of the spray shots would have at least hit the thing in the head, but no. Hey, that's rude. Anyway, before we continue on, most of the doors in this area are locked. We'll fix it eventually, but first off, and more importantly, we get the third of the 3 mode discs. And note, if you're not going for the best ending, if you're going for speedrun, the mode discs are completely unnecessary. And we have one of my favorite songs in the game. I love this track. It's nice and haunting. Oh, dude! Put some clothes on! Yeah, a majority of the zombies in the lab are naked for some reason. And I don't recommend killing any of them for the most part, because most of them actually respawn when you exit and enter the room again. But yeah, most of the doors, as you see here, are locked. And I don't know why I was trying to use the mode disc there. I was thinking you had a lot. Then again, because it's so close to the end of the game, because the lab section is actually very short. It's pretty much the rest of this part and the majority and the entirety actually of the next part. Notes here we also get some pretty decent puzzles actually, and some backstory. First off, there's a switch here, and then we got this researcher's letter. This guy's name is John, and he wants us to log into a terminal. No, he wants his girlfriend to log into a terminal. And do stuff on it. Well, more actually, he wants his girlfriend to do it. John and Ada, the username and password. However, there's also a second password which he hinted to. Which was a bunch of weird, non-English characters. But by switching on this black light, you can actually head on over to the painting on the other side of the room and see English words. Keep in mind, the letters that you see here, especially E, M, L, and O. And if you turn off the black light and go back, you can see which ones replaced what. So essentially, the password is mole, if you pay attention closely, if you just pretty much take a look at the very easy to solve logic. By the way, keep that John and Ada thing in mind, especially for Resident Evil 2. It might come into play. Which I do like, actually. Here's a weird thing about the naked zombies, actually. I'm assuming the T-virus does something to their bodies because they have no genitalia. No, seriously, even in the remake, they're just pretty much rotted corpses with nothing on them. Their skin is grayed. Alright, what we got on this computer? Meet our antagonists, ladies and gentlemen. Umbrella. This is where we need to do that John Ada mole thing. Pretty much just enter those that username and password when you're given the opportunity to. Fun little fact, and this is one of the things that makes me kind of prefer Chris, though I overall do prefer Jill, as I've said before, as a playthrough. But when you're typing as Chris, he fist bumps when he does something correctly. And it's hilarious. But yeah, Umbrella, as you can see here, not only owns the computers and such, in fact I say their name on screen 3 times right now, but since their OS... Since their logo booted up along with the OS, you can probably guess they're the ones that own this lab. They're the ones that created the T-virus, and they're a pharmaceutical company. Yeah. Stuff's not the best. I think you actually hear about that before now in the Chris scenario, as I said before, from Rebecca, his equivalent to Barry, who can heal you a couple times too. When I eventually do Remake, you'll see her and that stuff get mentioned. And I think you can also infer it from various notes and files, like the orders actually we got in the room where we got the red jewel that gave us the Magnum mentioned white umbrella, which I think is the only time you guys saw the word umbrella mentioned before this. What a stupid name for a bloody pharmaceutical company. Anyway, here we got the slides. You don't need to take this, I'm just going to show it off because it's technically a file. But it's an important one for the plot, let me just say that. Now I have to wonder, are the naked zombies here because they were experiments that were just not clothed? Or are they the researchers that for some reason just stripped upon death? These are legitimate questions, people. Welcome to the visual data room, by the way. First off, let's get the important thing out of the way. You can see that on the wall there, that there's some scratch marks, and you can also see that that pillar is texture mapped, meaning we could probably do something with it. Investigate this, press the button, and we go to the Bat Cave. No. We can just open that up, which has a key in it. And this is an important one, the lab key. Let's use those slides on this projector. Oh, come on. Stupid, picky items. Umbrella Incorporated Bioweapon Materials. Official report. MA-39 Cerberus killed plenty of those. FI-3 Neptune killed one of those, and very quickly. MA-121 Hunters, I hate you. T-002 Tyrant. Haven't run into one of those based off it, I don't want to. Bioweapon Research Institute R&D wait a minute, that guy on the right there looks very familiar. And kind of stands out. Very much, actually. But it's probably just a coincidence. A lot of people can have gel back, yellow hair, and sunglasses, right? And let's check this file. Security system, blah blah blah, explaining staff and priorities and such. Prison. E. Smith, Eros A. Wesker. God damn it, it is him! Damn you, Wesker! Yeah, if you haven't figured it out by now, Wesker is a traitor. In fact, that muffled conversation I mentioned at the beginning of the last part, which was a cutscene you can find with Barry, pretty much it's talking about Wesker having to destroy... It's Barry and Wesker having a conversation about destroying stars, and that he doesn't have to do it and such. Because, yeah, we were lured here, essentially, by Wesker, so we can not only test these things out, but so that he could do his mission as well. It's actually a surprisingly decently well-thought-out plot for 1996. Survival horror games, at least. Because let's be honest, aside from JRPGs, not many games had good plots back then. And I still think that's kind of a stigma with gaming, because other than RPGs of any kind, I'm trying to think of what games have a good story. The Last of Us does, as does the Uncharted trilogy, actually. Well, trilogy at the moment, the fourth game is obviously happening. Silent Hill does, but that's horror. Actually, yeah, Survival Horror does. Silent Hill does, yeah. And this is actually the same guy who gave out the orders, I believe, and this is him just talking about the T-virus. You can pause it if you want to read it. Really, the only reason I read the one file out the very beginning, towards the beginning of the game, the Itchy Tasty one, was because that's just legendary. Anyway, this is a passcode input system. This is where we use the Mo discs. And you get a passcode file for doing it. Which has a Bible. Each one has a Bible passage for some reason. And we're going to want to do that because that'll allow us to get the best ending for all three. Though, I hate getting the third one. I think I have to go into that area anyway, but still. Although, actually, now that I think about it, the lab is actually a very overall, as I mentioned, it's a short area, yeah, but it's also very small. Which makes sense, because, you know, there's a giant mansion and everything, but still. Though you have to wonder, because later games would show that the mansion here, which is the Arkley Mansion, if I haven't mentioned that before, isn't one of a kind. There are other mansions in the series that have pretty much the exact same layout. I immediately think of Lost in Nightmares in 5. And the Lost in Nightmares, I think that was a DLC for 5, actually. Was it? I forget. And what's it called? Whatever the name of the mansion was in Code Veronica had a very similar lobby, at least. So which makes me wonder, was this just the original mansion that they modeled all those off of, or are these just some stock mansions that... I'm gonna restart that sentence. Does Umbrella make other mansions like this, or is this just the one that they started it all? There's a lot that goes unexplained in Resident Evils 1, 2, and 3. And Code Veronica. Especially 4. Don't even give... Well, actually, no, 5 does a pretty decent job at that. Maybe I should play Resident Evil 0, because I've heard that does some explanation. I've just never played it. Anyway, let's get back to the puzzle on screen. We got another gas puzzle, like when we got the... I think it was the Sun Crest back in the mansion. However, the button there isn't one you activate by investigating it. The moment anything lands on it, it activates and causes the poisonous gas. And you need to correctly push these things around so you can do stuff. And I screwed up a bit. And by that I mean I had to redo the entire thing because I screwed up the puzzle and had to do another 2 minutes. It's not a very hard puzzle once you figure it out, really. Well, obviously, once you figure it out, it's a very easy puzzle. I suppose what I'm getting at is, if you just take a hard look at everything, it's very easy to figure out. It's just that the positions that you have to get everything in can be slightly precise when it comes to pushing them. And even then, there's a bit of a delay when it comes to pushing things. I can understand that because you have to hold the button down, but still, it's kind of annoying. But that's just a minor nitpick. Nitpick. I just said nitpick. Huh. Also, I've always hated the sound that plays whenever you push this, these little random staircase things. Oh, and yeah, this puzzle's entirely optional, because in the next room that this vent leads to, that I'm gonna crawl into in a moment, all there is some magnum ammo, and another passcode input system. Or is it output? I forget. I do believe the remake omits this puzzle entirely, and you just get to go right into that room, but I forget. In fact, as with a lot of the areas, the lab got some extensions in the remake. In specific, they added another way for the second password for John's account to work. And they actually added a thing of nitroglycerin you had to carry around. And by carrying it around, I mean you cannot run, and you cannot shoot. Yeah, that's annoying. It's one of the very few things I don't like about the remake, actually. Aside from the voice acting not being cheesy. Seriously, they should have had, like, a cheesy voice acting mode where everyone arms it up on purpose. I don't know what happened there. Huh. Kill this zombie. I think the only zombies that actually respawn upon exiting and re-entering the room are the naked ones, thankfully. And, by the way, this is the last save point in the game. There is a green herb, I think it's a red herb. Yeah, it's a red herb, and some flame rounds in here. And this is my ammo setup. As you can see, I'm kind of going all out in terms of weapons for now. Why? Because of the next enemy I'm going to encounter. Those who have played the game know which one it is, and while I jokingly say the hunters are my nemesis because of their instant kill attack and such, that's just because they gave me a lot of dead games as a child, which this series is prone to, especially in 1, 2, 3, and Code Veronica. But these guys are just annoying. Meet the Chimera. Human and fly DNA mixed with the T-virus. And these guys not only hurt, but are really annoying and can take a lot of hits, and I forget if they have an instant kill, but either way, they are just annoying. That's why I love the Magnum for this area. Oh, it's satisfying. I don't even know why I'm killing them. Mind you, I have more than enough ammo for it. Oh yeah, these guys hurt. Actually, going back to the topic of dead games, in case you don't know what that means, essentially, when you're playing through a game and you can legitimately no longer progress, survival horror games is especially prone to this. When you have limited resources like ammo and such that you need to progress for boss fights and such. They're not too common in Resident Evil, in my experience, specifically in Resident Evil. I think the only times I've had it happen is when I was younger in this game, because I was really haphazard with ammo, and Code Veronica, because seriously, that game is hard. But it's nothing too bad. I actually encountered them more in certain Silent Hill games, actually. Also, we just got the third passcode. God, I just wasted 2 Magnum bullets. That's bad. That's actually one of the bigger reasons I hate these guys. They're agile. But thankfully, I'm just gonna save that bullet, and I think that those bullets I save actually may have come in handy later. And here's actually our main goal. Whoa, I'm low in health. Our main goal of this area, this generator, which we need to turn on so an elevator that we could have investigated by now will be able to turn on. Which we, of course, need to do, because apparently Umbrella's not good at keeping their power systems going. Then again, based on the fact they let a stupid zombie apocalypse they had going on in their own mansion at loose, they probably are idiots anyway. That'll become especially clear in Resident Evil Code Veronica. God, I hate that game. I'm sorry for people who like it. It's not absolutely terrible, but the plot is just so stupid. And so are the puzzles. In fact, I think that game has probably the stupidest puzzles in the series. And that says a lot based on what we've seen in this game. And what we'll eventually see in 3. Ugh, 3. It's not bad, I'm just not looking forward to it. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 8, we'll be finishing off the game and seeing what the hell is going on in this lab once and for all. See you guys then.